This is podcast number 4 of the 10 question podcast. I'm Spann. This is Stephen French, aka the Devil.
Hi, good morning. It's Sunday, the 6th of September, and I'm thrilled to be invited by Spann to speak about Change Your Life, Put Down Your Knife. What a worthy campaign. Hello, Ben.
Hello, buddy. So, Stephen, how old was you when you first got into crime?
Where I was born in Liverpool, 8 Toxters, it wasn't a choice, it was just something that happened, Ben. Yeah. And I received my first criminal conviction at the age of 11. Yeah, right. I would say that I was criminally active and doing things against the law when I was about 10 years of age.
That's quite an early age to start.
Okay, it's a very early age to start, yeah, right. But the social and economic factors are well documented about where we come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, I find that the society, there's not just 3 classes. There's not the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. There's a class of people that I call the underclass. Yeah, right. Families that are brought up on social security. Families who've got fathers or mothers that have never worked, immigrant families, right, that have fell through the cracks. I call them the underclass, right, and we were I'm first generation British born black, right, so we were the Romanians of the 1960s, we were social outcasts, right, so although we were part of the structure and part of the society, we were ostracized, and left out and not included. So we have to find a way to provide for ourselves. And the way we found to provide for ourselves was through criminality. Yeah, right. It wasn't out of choice, it was out of a necessity. So yes, just like Victorian England, yeah, right, with Fagin and the child thieves, kind of the same thing, but in the modern day setting. Yeah.
What started your life of crime?
Older boys, knocking around with older boys, being small, being slight, being told by the older boys, climbing that window. Because for me, it started off with house burglaries, and the reason why it started off with house burglaries is I was small and slight, at 10 years of age, and the older boys, 13 and 14, who had been put through it at their time when they were 10 years and 14, were now too big to go through the windows, will put us through the window. And being a child, you don't know the difference. You don't know any better, and you just do what your peers tell you to do, because a lot of the stuff with the gangs, right, that's developed along the years, it's all got a lot to do with peer pressure, Ben.
Yeah, of course. How did you feel when you first got sent to jail?
Very unhappy, my first time in prison, I was guilty of the crimes that I was charged. I pleaded guilty and I received my sentence. So, although I'd lost my freedom, and although I wasn't ecstatic about being in prison, don't do the time. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. I had to just get on with it. Right. There's pointless. There's nobody else that's going to do the jail for you. Right. Jail is a woeful place. It's a miniaturization of the broader society. But in a man's prison, right, there's no women. It's just all males, and the chance of violence at any given moment, right, hangs in the air at every second. You can smell the desperation in prison. The last place you want to be, is prison. It's an awful place. And anybody who says, I can do a jail sentence spinning on my penis, or I can do it sitting on my head, right, either a liar or a crazy person, because jail's horrible. Absolutely horrible. especially if you've got some type of life on the outside.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, right. If you come from, you can't pay your bills, you can't pay your lecky, your gas or your rent, and you're getting 3 squares a day, well, then I can see how it can be appealing for you if you're kind of a homeless guy. But if you're guy with a family, a home, and some prospects, you don't want to be in prison. Yeah. So I felt devastated when I went to prison. But being a result character, a resolute character, yeah, right, you have to adapt to the terrain that you find yourself in.
Mm-hmm.
So I adapted to the terrain I found myself into and got on with my sentence because there was no injustice when I went to prison. I did the crime, I was given the time, and I had to do the time.
What regrets did you have during your sentence?
That I got caught. And that's an instinctual, honest answer.
Yeah.
You're right, because in terms of my own criminality and in terms of the way that I've made my livelihood as a young man, you're right. I look at society not in an insular way. I look at it in a broad way, how society is structured. You're right, and I know for a fact, you're right, that the real criminals, you're right, that steal, rob, maim, and kill millions of people will never see the inside of a jail.
Mm-hmm.
The likes of Tony Blair and George Bush fought an illegal war against Kofi Annan, who was the leader of the United Nations at that time, who told them that they couldn't fight that war, sent our young men over to foreign lands to die so that they could line their own pockets. So I see the hypocrisy of society as a whole. You're right. So let he who was without sin cast the first stone, is what I say. So I don't have no regrets over how I lived my life.
What about regrets as in missing family's birthdays, loved ones' birthdays, moments that you can't get back?
Well, fortunately for me, in my entirety, I'm 60 years of age as we speak now, and I've only done 3 years prison.
Right, okay.
Right. So it wasn't, and I only done that in my 50s, right. So it wasn't a tremendous amount of time that I spent in prison.
Yeah.
And when I went to jail, my children were raised. So those aspects of missing my children's birthdays or parties, that never really happened to me.
Yeah.
But I do understand the question that you're asking, because I've got friends and associates who are the same age as me, and spent over half their lives in prison. Yeah, right. Now, what I will say in hindsight is that regardless of the environmental factors or where we was born or where we were born in the social stratification, you're right, life's about choices, right. And I will say, as a young man, I made some poor choices because I was ill-informed.
Mm-hmm.
I was ill-informed because I never had the structured start that one needs in order to avoid those pitfalls. I fell into those pitfalls. Then me being regretful of the pitfalls that I've been in serves no purpose to me as a person. Right? For me to be regretful of things that I've done or things that have happened to me actually serves no purpose. I do have regrets of certain specific actions that I've taken, but in general, you're right, I'm quite positive about my life.
This would bring me to the next question. If you could rewind your life, would you do it all over again?
If I could rewind my life, I'd be a plumber. Yeah, I'd do my best to study hard at school, and if I wasn't academically gifted in order to go into university and do the academics, so I do some vocational training.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did some vocational training, I'd train as a plumber.
Yeah.
That's what if I had my time over, I'd be a plumber.
Very good. What was it like at the peak of your peak of your crime? How did you feel? Or what was it like at the top of your crime?
I understand the question that you're trying to ask. Yeah. And the question you're trying to ask is at the pinnacle of my career as a criminal. My nickname was, they gave me the nickname the Devil. My forte was taxing, kidnapping and robbing drug dealers. And the sense of power that gave me, the sense of freedom, and also the wealth that gave me was intoxicating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right? I understand the law of easy money. The flip side of that is the death and destruction. The death of family members. Yeah, I know at least 25 men that have been murdered. I know another 25 men that are doing life in prison. I've had several assassination attempts on my own life. I'm alienated from my children and my grandchildren because of my lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in hindsight, yeah, I've had tons and tons of cash, but I was empty and soulless. I wasn't happy. I don't have nowhere near the money that I had then that I have now. But I like myself more as a person, and I can categorically tell you that money doesn't buy happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be so foolish as to say that money doesn't help. Of course it helps. Gives you freedom of choice and freedom to do things. It's not money that's the root of all evil. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. And people get that adage wrong. When you fall in love with money, that's when it becomes evil. So I've realized that money, yeah, right, although important, cannot buy you peace of mind or happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So yes, the power, the prestige, the notoriety is intoxicating, but the price one has to pay for it is just too much, Ben.
What about when you was at the rock bottom of your crime period?
It's interesting that you should ask me that, right? Because I'm a born again Christian. Yeah, I was saved in 2009. Before I went to prison, yeah, my problems was violence, and I can remember it distinctly. Yeah, it was the 9th of August, 2013. I was on B-Wing in HMP Liverpool, and I was at my lowest step. I felt that I'd been abandoned and that there was nobody there for me. And I picked up my Bible, and I blew into my Bible, and I pushed my finger on it, and I landed on Isaiah 41. Thou shalt not fear, for I, Lord your God, am with you. I'll reach down my right hand and hold you up. That was my lowest point, yeah, right? Then God reached out to me, and from that point there, that very low point, I began to rebuild myself from that prison cell.
Mm-hmm.
But being on my own, because I was a single cell high risk prisoner, so I was in a jail cell on my own. I was in a jail where everybody basically wanted to do something to me, yeah, and the feeling of loneliness, isolation, and abandonment almost suffocated me. It was only my faith that got me through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you ever suffer from any learning disabilities at school, or was you ever bullied?
I was bullied at home from my sister. Yeah, I've got a sister that's 11 months older than me. I'm the youngest of 5 children. So by the time I got to school, I knew how to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was always very physically gifted. Academically, yeah, right, I excelled. Yeah, right. I'm quite an intelligent man. Yeah, right. I've had the benefits of an excellent education. Yeah. I'm a postgraduate at Liverpool University, Red Brick University. I've done an MA in ethnic studies, race relations and ethnic studies. Yeah, right. So academically, I'm quite gifted. Yeah, right. And I'm quite a contradiction in terms, because I had the abilities to go into higher education. But as I said, through peer pressure, no father at home, yeah, I made some poor choices.
Yeah.
And I chose to go down a certain path.
So, was your life of crime worth it?
Is that saying does crime pay?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, in a nutshell, I'd say that's...
Of course, crime pays, but there's a price that goes with it. And it's whether you're prepared to pay the price that goes with the crime, because there's all different types of crimes. And there's all different types of criminals. There's blue collar crime, white collar crime. There's misfeasance and malfeasance, people that abuse their public office. We've mentioned Richard Nixon was a guy that was impeached, wasn't he? He rides for Watergate and abusing the authority and sending people to wars that they shouldn't go to. But them type of criminals never see the inside of a jail.
No.
Then there's people that all commit crimes to feed the children. Then there's people that commit crimes, sex crimes, because they're sexually deviant. So it's a very difficult question, because for me, crime paid. And crime paid handsomely. Right. But then, in the fullness of time and and retrospectively looking back, the cars, the houses, the money, they didn't mean anything. I'd give anything for my dead friends to still be alive. I'd give anything for them not to be lifed off. So crime does pay, but sometimes the price, you don't realize the price till later on, and the price is too heavy. So I will put the proviso on that for young people that get an education, learning a vocation, and providing for yourself and your family in that manner is a much better option. A much, much better option.
Last question, mate. What message would you give to our future generations?
Put down your knife and change your life.
Excellent.
Because I was involved as an anti-gun campaigner. I ended up pistol whipping a guy in 2013, made myself into a hypocrite. There's nobody better or more qualified than me to speak about the provocation, because I've been provoked to a point when I'm an anti-gun campaigner and I pick up an imitation gun, and I pistol whipped the man. He went to prison, he went to hospital, I went to prison, happy. They threatened my family, I went to prison happy. I'm guilty of a hypocritical act, but I can admit to you, Ben, that it was a hypocritical act that saved my family. You've got to understand. Right. The provocation that goes with being a person like me, people pushing me buttons. Now, through counselling, through therapy, I've realised I've been able to identify my triggers, and now there's nobody more informed to me to know when you come right up to that brink where you're thinking about picking up your weapons, and you change your thinking and you make a better choice and you choose to do something else. Change powered by choice is something that I promote very greatly in my social media. Making the right changes, powered by the right choice. So the advice that I would give to the young people, especially those involved that come from deprived areas, social and economic deprivation, poor housing, no opportunities, and the only way out is the street corner. Just try to knuckle down a little bit harder. Stay at school. Try to do your education, and whatever you do, try to get a vocation behind you, some way, some trade that you can apply for the rest of your life, so you can provide for yourself and your family without being involved in drugs, guns, or becoming a pistolero, right? Because bullets respect nobody, blades respect nobody. Your flesh and your sinews will cut like the next man's. You only have to get dipped. They call it dipping now. You only have to get dipped in the chest on the left-hand side, and you're a dead person. Lose your life in a flash, and you don't even have to be involved in the life for that to happen to you. You understand the way society is going at the present day? today. There is a change, right? And there's a move back towards, not religion, because I don't believe in organised religions, right? I believe in spirituality, and I believe in the Creator and a connection with a higher power. So acknowledge your own higher power, and attempt to make informed choices, initiatives such as your own, which promote education, change and rehabilitation, right, for younger people that have fallen through the cracks. These grassroots organisations such as your own, Ben, they're a must, and this is why I've given up my Sunday, right, to come and speak to you, to just see if I can have some input in somewhere, because it's work that I've tried to do in the past. Right. I'd be absolutely delighted to help you with anything that you're doing. Although your organisation and what you're doing stands on its own and is not associated with me. If there's anything I can do to help you, I'd be delighted, Ben.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks, Frenchie.